Welcome back, you brave souls who've chosen to spend your precious time with me, Morty. Today, we're diving into the murky waters of gaming nonsense with a gem titled ARK AQUATICA Evolve Paid DLC, Lost Colony $30. AI Slop, Ark In 2025 is a complete disaster. Sounds like a mouthful, doesn't it? Honestly, I can already smell the desperation from here, like my bog after a heavy rain. So, we've got a $30 DLC that's apparently just a glorified patch of AI Slop. I mean, who doesn't want to pay top dollar for a digital dumpster fire? I'm just itching to see how this disaster unfolds, and trust me, it'll be more entertaining than watching a toad try to hop uphill. Before we jump into this mess, make sure to hit that subscribe button and give a like if you enjoy watching me roast these ridiculous trends. Let's get into it before I lose my mind, or worse, my croak.
Hey ratbags, it's Jade today giving you lowdown on more to do with Ark. Did a video showcasing a whole bunch of announcements talking about their animated TV show, the reveal of their DLC that's coming for their remaster, and then something troubling.
The classic something troubling line. It's like a warning sign that says, prepare for disappointment. I can already feel the excitement draining faster than a swamp after a drought. And what do we get? A peek at some hands in a digital swamp. Riveting stuff. Really, I mean, who doesn't want to see a pair of pixelated hands when they are promised a thrilling DLC? This is about as exciting as watching paint dry in my bog.
A kind of tease or a denial by Studio Wildcard, the makers of Ark, that Ark Aquatica has nothing to do with them. Instead, apparently, some sort of new game or DLC is going to be made by their publishing company that owns them, but not strictly made by the team that are currently working on Ark Survival Ascended and Ark 2. And then eventually all got revealed. ARK Aquatica is going to be a paid DLC for Ark Survival Evolved. Not the remaster that came out, the dead game that everyone was saying from Studio Wildcard and Snail that you should pretty much abandon and come and join us on this new one. This is meant to be a 10-year anniversary present celebrating Ark's birthday in June, and it's going to be a paid content drop for players for an old game, one they stopped supporting over 15 months ago. No official servers, no updates, no hotfixes. But wait, it gets worse.
Oh, fantastic. Just when I thought this train wreck couldn't derail any further. We get the classic, but wait, it gets worse. It's like a bad infomercial for a product nobody asked for. I can already hear the collective groans of players who thought they were getting a gift for ARK's anniversary. Instead, it's more like a lump of coal in their digital stockings. What's next? A subscription fee for the privilege of playing a game they've already paid for. This is shaping up to be a real doozy.
I mean, to be fair, that trailer did look pretty bad, and it highlights the differences between Ark Survival Evolved and Ascended. Sure, Ascended looks pretty, just still runs just as crap. But then everyone's dug around. Raz Clark showed off this AI-generated Slop trailer highlighting the DLC. They must have took some of the negative feedback from that initial tease yesterday, who knows, or they've always had this in the works. It does look like it's been thrown up together in literally 24 hours. Horrendous use of AI, just the absolute epitome of what you don't want highlighting your wonderful open world crafting survival dinosaur game.
Now we're getting somewhere. Horrendous use of AI is right on the money. It's like they took a beautiful open world and decided to slap on a layer of digital sludge. This is the kind of thing that makes you question if anyone involved has ever actually played a game. If this is what they think highlights their wonderful game, I'd hate to see what they consider a disaster. It's like trying to showcase a fine dining experience with a plate of cold leftovers. What a way to celebrate a franchise.
Creatures that won't be in the game, armor sets that certainly don't look like anything that will be in the actual Ark Aquatica, and of course even the humans don't really look that real. I hate AI with a passion.
Well, join the club. It's hard to find anyone who doesn't have a bone to pick with AI these days. It's like they took the creativity of a toddler and the execution of a sloth. If this is what they're banking on for their big reveal, I'd say they're in for a rude awakening. It's like trying to sell a fancy car with a cardboard cutout for a driver, just a sad display all around.
One good thing is maybe the Ark content creator community that use AI thumbnails might think again, given the huge backlash on socials at the moment towards snail games. Probably not, because them type of creators are literally creatively corrupt, hence why they rely on things like AI. I think AI definitely has some uses in the future for generative stuff in terms of workflow and computing, as it already is implemented, but taking away jobs from artists is a no-no, especially when Ark makes some of the best trailers around. And clearly no one from the Wildcard team has been involved in this. Now, I gave big criticism, as I always do, and I do direct it as much to Wildcard as Snail Games, because to me, you can't really separate them. Snail own Ark outright. 100% they are in charge of everything that Ark does. They own Studio Wildcard, lock, stock and barrel. So you could say you have sympathy for a development team owned by this Chinese company that just hasn't got a clue, wants to add loads of microtransactions in, messes things up and just wastes a lot of the money that Ark has generated. But to counter that, the founders of Ark do have shares still in the company, maybe not controlling ones. And if they were to really put their foot down over stuff, I don't think we'd see half the kind of bullshit we've seen.
Now we're getting to the heart of the matter. If the founders still have a say, then why are we drowning in the sea of nonsense? It's like watching a toad try to swim in a kiddie pool, just flailing around with no direction. If they really cared, we wouldn't be stuck with this mess of microtransdistributions and half-baked ideas. It's like they're throwing spaghetti at the wall to see what sticks, and all we're left with is a sticky, chaotic disaster.
They simply just put up with it because it makes them money too. So yeah, this all started from a denial before we'd even seen or heard of anything to do with this ARK Aquatica. This tweet seemingly put out a bit too early. But I just don't believe this covers them enough. We had the founders of Wildcard stressing and saying that the remaster would be the all-new experience to play, not Survival Evolved, the old version. They shut down official server support. People have been playing on them servers for literally 8 years. We were told that the old game was creaking and that there were issues with it, and it had basically got overinflated with all the DLCs, maps and more they'd added over the years, and that the only way forward was to move to a new engine. That was originally promised as free by the founder, and then that recanted as they changed their scope, supposedly. Instead, what really happened was that their publisher overlord said, nope, let's repackage it as a full remaster, and then we can start selling stuff like microtransactions, premium mods, and even more DLC.
The classic corporate maneuver. Instead of delivering on promises, they decide to slap a shiny new label on the same old product and cash in on it. It's like putting a bow on a pile of garbage and calling it a gift. Microtransdistributions, premium mods, and more DLC. It's a buffet of greed. They're treating loyal players like cash cows, and I can't help but feel for those who've invested their time and money into this. It's a shame to see a once promising game turn into a cash grab.
So, as of right now, there's not 100% confirmation that the ARK Aquatica is going to be a paid content drop. But there's no way that Snail Games, the publisher, are not going to have this opportunity to get some money, because there's still over 30,000 peak players on a daily basis playing Ark. At various times it's been more than a remaster, although it is starting to level off and be pretty much about the same amount now. But that still means there's probably close to 2 million players still logging into Ark Survival Evolved a month across different platforms. But this DLC looks like it might only arrive on PC. There was some other marketing material. This was all left in basically a link drive that anyone could edit. It's going to come with 17 unique creatures that we all know are going to be just reskins. 95% of the gameplay is going to be underwater.
Reskins and underwater gameplay. What a delightful combination. It's like they're serving us the same old dish, but with a splash of water to make it seem fresh. 17 unique creatures. More like 17 variations of the same tired model. If 95% of the gameplay is underwater. I hope they've got a solid plan to keep players from drowning in boredom. It's like they're trying to sell us a new aquarium exhibit instead of a game. What a way to celebrate a franchise.
Something fans have been asking for a long time, but yeah, it just absolutely stinks.
Fans have been asking for underwater content for ages, and this is what they get. It's like finally getting a long-awaited gift only to find it's a pair of socks. Sure, it's something, but it absolutely stinks if they can't deliver something fresh and exciting. They might as well just let the game sink to the bottom of the ocean. This is shaping up to be a real letdown, and I can't help but feel for the players who were hoping for something more than just a glorified fish tank.
And the fact that the development team behind Ark 2 and Ark Ascended had to put out a warning tweet distancing themselves from their own publisher tells you everything.
Now that's a red flag waving higher than a toad on a hot day. When the development team has to distance themselves from their own publisher, you know things are going south faster than a frog in winter. It's like they're trying to say, hey, don't blame us for this mess. This kind of drama is a clear sign that something's gone horribly wrong behind the scenes. If they're already scrambling to clarify their involvement, it doesn't bode well for the future of this DLC, or the franchise for that matter.
Everything. But they are culpable, absolutely liars when it comes to saying that the old game wouldn't be supported, come join the new one.
Oh, here we go. Calling them liars is a bold move, but it's hard to argue when they've clearly backtracked on their promises. It's like they're trying to sell a shiny new car while the old one's still sputtering in the driveway. If they said the old game wouldn't be supported, then turned around and slapped a price tag on a new DLC, that's just plain deceitful. It's like trying to convince players to jump ship while the boat's still afloat, only to find out it's got a hole in it.
I just don't think they should escape any kind of criticism. But wait, there's more. Lost Colony is another DLC, this time for the remaster, and it's going to be coming out in November.
Oh, fantastic. Just when you thought it couldn't get any worse, here comes another DLC, Lost Colony no less. It's like they're throwing more fuel on the fire instead of putting it out. Coming out in November, I can already hear the groans of players who are just trying to enjoy the game without being bombarded by endless cash grabs. It's like they're trying to milk this franchise dry while we're all left wondering if there's anything left worth playing. What a way to celebrate a game's legacy.
November. I know it gets a bit confusing, but the remaster was meant to come with drip-fed DLC maps that were previously available as extra paid content for the original game of Ark. Most remasters, in fact every remaster I've ever played, comes with all the DLC free, and that's what they've pretty much done here. All the old maps, ones that you had to pay for, and free community maps are meant to arrive with the remaster. Since the release though, they've delayed and changed and chopped what order some of these maps come in. Originally every 2 months to every 3 months, and now who knows what. And so the complete version of Ark, with all of its community maps that were promised as part of this remaster, won't actually be delivered until close to 2027 by the time the last one arrives.
2027, are you kidding me? That's like waiting for a toad to hop across a swamp. Slow and painful. Promising a complete version of Ark, and then dragging it out for years is just cruel. It's like dangling a carrot in front of a player's face and then snatching it away. If they can't deliver on their promises in a timely manner, they might as well just stop making promises altogether. This is turning into a saga of delays and disappointment that no one asked for.
And it seems like some of the paid DLC, the last one they added for Survival Evolved, Genesis Parts 1 and 2, which was a season pass that you bought, that has been delayed to make way for this Lost Colony DLC, another one that's going to supposedly bridge the gap between Ark and Ark 2. I know, right? If you're still here and not actually a big player of Ark, this all sounds a bit crazy. Remastered content that's meant to be delivered as part of a package you paid for has been delayed by up to a year to make way for another paid DLC.
This is just absurd. Delaying remastered content that players have already paid for to make way for yet another paid DLC. It's like they're playing a game of musical chairs, and the players are left standing while the music keeps playing. It's a slap in the face to loyal fans who expected a complete package. If they keep this up, they'll have more players jumping ship than sticking around. It's a classic case of prioritizing profit over player satisfaction, and it stinks worse than my bog after a rainstorm.
One you won't get for free, one that you're now going to be spending $30 on.
Oh, there it is. The dreaded $30 price tag. It's like they're trying to squeeze every last penny out of players while serving up the same old dish. Charging for something that was promised as part of the package is just plain greedy. It's like being told you're getting a full meal and then being handed a bill for dessert. If they think players are going to fork over that kind of cash for what feels like a cash grab, they might be in for a rude awakening. This is shaping up to be a real disaster.
Just revealed the price of Lost Colony, and it's an outrage. Previous DLCs for Ark, when they were sold on the Evolved version, the early ones at least, were around $15 to $20. They gave a new map, a bunch of new creatures, new items. Or you could buy the season pass that included the first 3 of these extensions. Their next season pass, which had 2 maps with creatures and everything else, Genesis 1 and 2, cost around $30 to $34, maybe $40. Honestly, I've lost count, it's been so long. So to go from that to now having to pay a $30 price, literally at the moment you can buy the base game of Ark for like $20.
Now that's just ridiculous. Charging $30 for a DLC when you can snag the base game for $20. It's like they're trying to sell you a side salad for the price of a full meal. This pricing strategy is baffling and downright insulting to players who have been loyal to the franchise. If they think they can pull this off without backlash, they're in for a rude awakening. It's a classic case of trying to milk the cow dry, while the rest of us are left wondering if we're even getting any milk at all.
For just one map, I don't care how big it might be, how amazing it's going to be, what it's got to offer. Supposedly it's going to maybe have NPCs and heroes, and it's all going to be just a testing ground for Ark 2 by the looks of things.
So now we're getting a glorified testing ground for Ark 2. That's rich. It's like they're asking players to pay for a beta version of a game that isn't even out yet. If they think slapping some PNCNs and heroes into the mix is going to justify that price tag, they've got another thing coming. It's like trying to sell a half-baked cake and calling it a gourmet dessert. Players deserve better than being used as guinea pigs for their next big project.
If this was maybe the only thing that they've been selling with the remaster, I could maybe go, okay, I can live with this. But in the last year alone, Ark has sold 2 dinosaurs for pay-to-win pretty much mechanics. Only $5 each, but they're not skins, they're actual creatures. They've got different abilities and they're both pretty much OP. They sold another season pass, Bob's Tall Tales, that added extra content to the free maps that released for Scorched, Aberration and Extinction. That cost like $20 to $30. They've now sold 3 different skin packs that I admit aren't as bad value because they do include a bunch of skins that you'd probably pay Fortnite for one. But Fortnite is a free game, lest I remind all the dickheads that are going to start saying that they've got to support the game. You support the game by buying the game. You support the game by buying these DLCs. You don't necessarily need to or should need to buy loads of skins for the game as well.
Exactly. Players have already shelled out their hard-earned cash for the game and its delks. Asking them to fork over even more for skins is just overkill. It's like they're trying to squeeze every last drop out of the player base. Supporting a game shouldn't mean emptying your wallet at every turn. If they keep this up, they'll find themselves with a dwindling player base faster than a toad can leap away from danger. It's time to rethink this whole cash grab strategy before it backfires spectacularly.
Well, but I digress, they're not selling them individually, so yeah, I can live with that. But becoming worse and worse is the premium mods.
Premium mods, now we're really diving into the deep end of the nonsense pool. It's like they're trying to monetize every little aspect of the game. If they think players are going to shell out for mods that should be part of the community experience, they're sorely mistaken. It's like charging for a recipe that should be shared freely among friends. This is just another layer of greed piled on top of an already shaky foundation. If they keep this up, they'll have more players jumping ship than they know what to do with.
Unfinished mods, not even complete, being sold at anywhere between $5 and $15. Some of the devs behind these maps have already walked away and abandoned their projects. Others are probably going to take over a year to get them complete. Early access premium mods, can you actually believe it, for a remaster incomplete that is selling all this junk?
Early access premium mods, that's a new level of absurdity. Selling incomplete content for a remaster is like trying to sell a car without wheels and calling it a work in progress. It's a blatant cash grab, and players deserve better than being treated like wallets on legs. If they think they can keep pushing this junk on the community, they're in for a rude awakening. This is just a recipe for disaster, and it's hard to see how they think this will end well.
Yet still there will be some creators in the Ark community defending this, and honestly, you're part of the reason why, because you don't criticise enough some of the earlier stuff, just live with it because it's all you can rely on. Effectively meaning that everyone has to pay because no one rises up. The game developers aren't standing up enough to snail games. Content creators are just being simps because they can't have their channels run without Ark content. And players, well, you're just as dumb sometimes. You love your dinosaurs, but you're sitting there just lapping this stuff up, coming up with stupid reasons to defend, like I mentioned with skins, but not really seeing the broader, bigger picture. Snail games are absolutely the ultimate bad boss here.
There it is, Snail Games as the ultimate bad boss. What a fitting title. They're the ones pulling the strings while players are left to deal with the fallout. It's like they're running a circus, and we're all just the unwilling audience. If they keep this up, they'll turn a beloved franchise into a cautionary tale. It's time for players to wake up and see the bigger picture before they're left holding the bag while the real culprits laugh all the way to the bank.
Here, they are absolute scummy, and we can only pray that maybe one day someone sweeps in and tries buying actually Ark the IP. And I've got a lot of time for the individual developers that work at Wildcards. I know it's not their fault, they've just got to put some bread on the table and everyone's got to work a job, right? But I will keep saying it, and I've been saying it in every criticism video I've done. The founders of Ark need to take a good hard look at themselves about how they've led this game company, even with their Paylord overmasters breathing down their neck. They have been complicit in some of this stuff that's happened because they still generate lots of money from it too, with their shares, bonuses and more. And most of this stuff would be okay if Ark actually ran pretty well and the remaster wasn't just a buggy.
Now we're getting to the crux of the issue. If the remaster was actually functional instead of a buggy mess, maybe players would be more forgiving. But when you're selling a broken product and expecting people to pay for more, that's just unacceptable. It's like trying to sell a car with a flat tire and saying, "Don't worry, the new paint job is worth it." If they can't get the basics right, they shouldn't be adding more layers of nonsense on top. It's a recipe for disaster, and players deserve better.
Buggy piece of shit, not breaking every 2 seconds, filled with cheaters, or having DDoS attacks for weeks on end. If some of that stuff was better, we could all go, yes, let's support Ark, whatever, sure, let's buy DLC, pay to win dinosaurs, season passes galore coming out your ass and more. But it's just not. These are facts. Go and check out the Steam reviews for Ark Survival Ascended. When you talk to console players, they'll tell you how many problems and issues they have with the game crashing still. Same old issues that were supposedly fixed or should be fixed because the remaster was rebuilt from the ground up. All just absolute lies. It was never rebuilt. It was literally just ported over to Unreal.
There it is. Calling them out for lying about the remaster being rebuilt is a bold move, but it's hard to argue when the evidence is right there. If they just ported it over to Unreal 5 without addressing the core issues, that's a slap in the face to players who were promised a fresh start. It's like putting a fresh coat of paint on a crumbling house and calling it a renovation. If they can't deliver on their promises, they're going to lose the trust of their community faster than a toad can hop away from danger.
5. The one good thing that's come out the remaster is mod support, but that is really lacking. They don't have enough storage on consoles, and yeah, now they're trying to pretty much make any mod they can into a premium experience, even if they're not.
So now they're trying to monetize unfinished mods. That's just adding insult to injury. It's like charging players for a half-baked cake and expecting them to be grateful for the crumbs. If mod support is one of the few bright spots, they're doing a terrible job of nurturing it. Players deserve a robust modding community, not a paywall for incomplete content. This is just another example of how they're missing the mark and failing to listen to their community. It's a shame to see such potential squandered.
They're not finished. Maybe some people expected me to be a bit more shouty today, but I'm lucky I don't have to rely on Ark. Ark hasn't been my main income in terms of content and views for a long time. And I'm just always hopeful that we can get back to a point that Ark would give me some excitement and not be doing stupid shit. But I don't think it's going to be that case. So I'm still just going to be here, waiting and hoping that one day something will be good that I can cover and that's interesting and fun. But if they keep fucking up, if they keep doing this kind of bullshit, then I'm going to keep having an interest and shouting off my big mouth. If you've not thought about playing Ark until today, please, just don't bother.
Now that's a strong closing statement. If you're telling potential players to steer clear, you know things have hit a low point. It's like waving a big red flag saying, danger ahead. If the game is in such disarray that newcomers should think twice, it's a clear sign that the developers need to get their act together. It's a shame to see a once promising franchise in such a state, but sometimes the best advice is to walk away. Let's hope they can turn things around before it's too late.
It's a great concept and there is a great game underneath all this nonsense, but once it draws you in, well, you can see all the problems I've listed and all the stuff that you might have to put up with. Anyway, I'm off to play Assassin's Creed Shadows some more. Can you believe it? Ubisoft making a game that's in less of a absolute shit show? Yeah, who would have thought?
Well, there you have it, folks. We've waded through the murky swamp of ARK AQUATICA Evolved paid DLC, Lost Colony $30 AI Slop. Ark in 2025 is a complete disaster. If you missed it, let me recap my thoughts, so you don't have to watch this waterlogged disaster again. Consider it a favor. We kick things off by sniffing out the desperation behind this $30 DLC that feels like they scooped it straight off the digital dumpster floor. Spoiler alert, my expectations were not just unmet, they were buried deeper than a toad in winter. Each time I thought it couldn't get worse, oh it did. They had the nerve to charge for a glorified section of AI sludge, with reskins and copy-pasted content masquerading as features. We even got a non-news headline saying it's not that bad, but let's face it. That's like saying my croaky voice isn't annoying. Hardly convincing. By the end, it was clear this universe is trying to squeeze every last drop out of players, starting with an overpriced DLC and ending with a sinkhole of disappointment. I couldn't help but laugh. Okay, maybe grimace at the absurdity of their marketing tactics, They're serving us cold leftovers and expecting praise instead of a deserved revolt. So, if you had a laugh, or at the very least a chuckle at the sheer ridiculousness of it all, do me a favor. Smash that subscribe button, give this video a like before it disappears faster than a toad's chances at a beauty pageant, and let's keep roasting the internet's nonsense together. Until next time, stay skeptical out there.